Hello friends, Arik is here, your friend and coach from Israel. And today I would like to share with you my experience of more than a year fasting once a week. It's been a very special experience. And I know that I have been doing it for more than a year because about a year ago I organized a WhatsApp group of people from all over the world who fast in a synchronized way every week for 24 hours. Some people fast more, but like the official time is 24 hours. And it's been about a year since then. And I personally started fasting a few weeks before that. So therefore I know that it's been more than a year since I have been doing that. And I haven't skipped in this last year, I haven't skipped even one week without fasting. So in my case, I've been fasting every week for 24 hours, most of the weeks. And sometimes I would take it, I would upgrade it or extend it to 42 hours. So because by the Israeli time, I start fasting on Friday at 2 p.m. And I usually finish on Saturday at 2 p.m. But sometimes I take it to the next morning, and then it gives 42 hours. During the last year, I did it the dry fast version. So during those 24 to around 42 hours, I would abstain obviously from food, also from water and from drinking, but I would touch water if I needed to brush my teeth or to wash my hands, etc. But for example, among other group members in the group that I manage, there is complete freedom to choose what kind of fast you want to do. So there are people who do juices during this time. There are people who do like dry fast like me or water fast. Everyone can choose according to their level, their understanding, etc. Yeah, but in my case, it was what's called soft dry fast. So, and it's actually been a life-changing experience. It's really life-changing. It's really an amazing habit to cultivate. And today I would love to share with you a few benefits of this particular fasting once a week. So, and even the most of the benefits I'm going to share are beyond detox, because for detox, it's quite a short time. So detox wise, the benefits are pretty limited, especially if you do 24 hours. The time is too short. You stop eating, let's say Friday afternoon, and you still have some food in your stomach, unless you empty it by enemas or something like that, and then you resume eating on Saturday afternoon. When it's longer, and actually to tell you the truth, I'm now it's one of those days when I take it to 42 hours. So now I'm in a fasted state. I'm about 32 hours now into my fast, into my weekly fast. When you take it longer, when you take it to around 42 hours, I feel that more detox starts. For example, when I approached this current fast this week, I had a quite strong running nose because I've been sick, kind of sick with light flu or heavy cold. I don't know. Prefer not to label it. Just go with the experience. But it's been few days, something like that, of running nose, of coughing, etc. And now after 32 hours, but actually after 20 and something hours, actually today in the afternoon, like my running nose ceased to be running completely. So right now the nose is completely clean. And even this morning, I had to use quite a lot of tissue papers to clean my nose, to blow my nose. So it's amazing. And now I feel like this running nose hasn't even existed. It's very, very difficult to imagine, that it was there, because now it has completely gone. I still have some mucus in my lungs. Sometimes it comes out with cough, but even that much better. So yeah. So after so if it's around 42 hours, it's better in terms of detox. But this 24-hour fasting, especially if we do it week after week after week, has lots of benefits of its own. And the most, I'll share with you the most important ones. So the first one, in my opinion, is that it builds the capacity for prolonged fasts. Because during this short fast, you often need to deal with the same symptoms as you would encounter on the long one, such as maybe different emotional patterns that come up, different physical symptoms such as lightheadedness, such as nausea, such as weakness, maybe lack of energy and stuff like that. So you need to deal with that, and you need to find out the ways to deal with that. And it actually builds the capacity for the long run. For example, in the beginning, initially it was difficult for me to maintain 24-hour fast every week. It was challenging. But after that, I I built this ability pretty well, even though even 24 hours fast is still challenging for me every now and then. But it's much easier than it was before in the beginning. And at some point I felt that I could extend it for 42 hours, which I did. So during the last year, it's been maybe 5, 6, 7 hours, times that I extended my fast from 24 hours up to 42 hours. And every time it was great achievement. So that's what I mean. And the idea is to go for longer fast for me. But I love this idea of gradually building something. And I'm using this short weekly fast to build the capacity for the longer one. And there is another advantage I noticed, and it's also a very significant one, that it's when you keep this fast going 24 hours, like week after week after week, it really starts balancing you out in terms of different exaggerations that you made in the realm of food intake, or liquid intake in my case, because I've been on liquids for quite a while, and also in terms of different kinds of foods and liquids that are not optimal. So, for example, if you exaggerate, if you took too much of food before that, or non-optimal food, then it kind of resets you. So it brings you again to the 0 point from which you can start anew. And it's a great feeling. I tell you, it's just a great feeling. Like because among people who are on this health path, a path of refining their diet towards veganism, towards raw foods, etc., there are relapses. And there are many people who take it quite seriously and start blaming themselves, etc. But here you actually have a practical tool that gives you an opportunity to reset yourself again and to start anew. and it's a great tool. And it really works. It really works as a rebalancing factor. So, but for example, in my case, I have been on liquids, doing a lot of juices, etc. But for example, there is, like in my case, I sometimes drink too much of a tomato juice or tomato soup, both based on not on fresh tomatoes, even though sometimes I do that as well, but on the tomato paste. And it's a cooked product, so it's quite heavy on the body. And especially when I'm doing it too much, I have different adverse reactions in terms of, might be kind of a diarrhea or upset stomach or something like that. And it usually happens week after week after week. So so I'm not saying here that this fasting will stop those habits. At least in my case, it doesn't work like that. But the very fact that I fast every week, it gives me an opportunity to reset, and at least for the maybe for the first few weeks of for the first 2 days of the week, to try not to exaggerate with the quantities of that, even though it doesn't always work either. But I can definitely tell you that there is this balancing factor there. So you just have to try it in order to verify those words. So that's another point that I found very, very beneficial in this habit of fasting every week. And even more than that, it balances you out in other aspects of life as well. It's difficult for me to see to give you a particular example right now that I could easily see that this particular balancing in this particular field came as a result of the fasting. But it does happen, like intuitively and in the realm of feeling. I feel that. So when you do that, when you start cultivating this habit of fasting once a week, you are welcome to write a comment and to share your experience in terms of resetting and balancing and I think that it works in particular when you do it actually week after week after week, when you cultivate it not just once in a while but on a continuum basis. And another very strong benefit, especially for people who are into inner work, into self-development, into spiritual development, regardless of the path they take, is that by abstaining from food for 24 hours or a little bit longer, you take a very, very important factor that has lots of influences in your life. And it gives you the opportunity to explore other things, how other things influence you. For example, even in terms of energy. Sometimes, so when you start this 24-hour weekly fast, you will see that sometimes it goes better. Sometimes there are more energy, more clarity of thought, more emotional stability, and you are more uplifted emotionally. And sometimes it's less. Sometimes there are more symptoms, sometimes there are less symptoms. So you obviously start researching what kind of things you do, because food is not there. Food is the most obvious one, but food is not there. So you start researching, first of all, what kind of food I took before that. That's one of the factors. If I you also look at this area of whether my bowels were empty when I entered the fast or not. That's another thing. But even beyond that, you start exploring different. If you do that, if you start exploring, if you are into exploration of those things, you will start exploring different other aspects. For example, what kind of information you were exposed to or are exposed to during the fast and prior to that, or what kind of thought you were generating and thinking, whether you performed your spiritual practices or not, or how long were they, and many other factors. What kind of conversations did you have with people? What kind of people were and are around you? Many factors. And then you actually start seeing that there are many other things that influence us, and many of those things you wouldn't have seen if you had taken your regular food. So in terms of inner observation of different factors, it is great because again you abstain from something that has a very significant impact upon all the levels: emotional level, mental level, physical level, etc. Yeah, it's like you might compare it even to a drug addict who is suddenly without drugs. So now he needs to see the reality. He needs to see the regular thing or the other thing or the other things that influenced him or her other than drugs. So, and it opens us up to lots of discoveries in this realm, and therefore I really recommend cultivating this habit of abstaining from food for 24 hours or a little bit longer every week, and to cultivate it and to do it week after week after week. Yeah, I'll give you an example of this kind of what I mean by other factors. For example, usually, so now it's around 11 p.m. and on the days when I eat, I usually wouldn't have, at least for now, yeah, I wouldn't have energy to make a video during this time around 11. I would love to get this to this state even with food, but it almost hasn't happened recently. And now it's different. Now I do have energy, so I can see that this probably comes from food, because other than that I did pretty regular things today. So that comes from food, this lack of energy, and it makes sense because lots of energy goes to digestion. Also in terms of mental, I feel quiet. I feel quiet and peaceful now, and it might not be so on the eating days. So things like that. It opens up lots of opportunities for observation and for finding very interesting conclusions about how food influences us. And then you start seeing actually that in many cases this influence is not very conducive towards our goals and towards what we want to do in life. And you start asking yourself, how can I maybe reduce amounts of ochel is food in Hebrew, amounts of food, or how to maybe increase my energy, increase my awareness. You start asking those questions because you see the picture clearly, or at least a little bit more clearly. So that's why I recommend this habit of cultivating this fast week after week after week, and not just once in a while. So that's pretty much my experience. Let me think if I have anything else to share. Yeah, also like in terms of spiritual practices, in my case, it's meditation, vipassana meditation, observation meditation. Sometimes on fasting days it goes deeper. Sometimes it gets more shallow. So again, there is lots of factors here to inquire. In addition to how food influences, and again, what kind of thoughts I had been thinking, what kind of information I got exposed to, etc. You start asking yourself many questions, and many questions about life in general. They just come up when food is not there. And it's good to do it every week, kind of reflection. You can do this reflection might go as reflection on food, because you remember I told you that it resets us, this kind of fast. So during this reset period, you could ask yourself, okay, so what kind of food regimen I could adopt that might not be too drastic for me now, but also might be conducive towards my goals in this realm of healing and detox. And also about other areas in life, about goals, personal goals, about aspirations, about relationships, about many, many things. Because usually lots of mental clarity is there, at least in my case. Physical energy, not always. But the mental clarity, there is difference in terms of mental clarity between fasting days and eating days. Usually on fasting days, there is more. At least that's how I see it now. I haven't really measured it, to tell you the truth, because sometimes I have very, very good clarity on my drinking days as well. Because actually liquidarian lifestyle is great for the clarity of the mind. But on fasting days, there are moments of very, very good clarity. So, and those are good moments to ask yourself what you are doing here. Ask questions in general, because this ability of asking questions, asking yourself deep questions, is quite rare ability nowadays. Okay, guys, I think I will wrap it up for now. Thank you very much for listening. You're welcome to share this video, to put a like if you liked it, and take care. Wish you lots of joy and happiness and inspiration on your healing and spiritual journey. Thank you very much.